passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in, touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swinging it right! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jarid Watson.
Hello and welcome to Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond. I'm Jarid Watson. He's Andy Billman, and today I want to take a time hop back to the last time the Cleveland Browns actually beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Andy, do you remember this game at all?
Cleveland Browns.
Vaguely.
So, dude, it was 15 years ago, and I was at the game. 2003.
Wow.
This was. Here's some stuff that'll make you laugh. Willie Green, 32 carries, 115 yards. Dennis Northcutt, 5 receptions, 58 yards. This was a game where Tim Couch had to play because I believe Kelly Holcomb was hurt.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Right? So Butch Davis was still the quarterback, and this was the days of touchdown Tommy Maddox, who the year prior had stolen
the wild card game.
Do you remember? I mean,
Antoine Randall really did too. He played fantastic in that wild card game.
33-13. The Browns won. I was at that game, Sunday night game at Heinz Field. I had my hat ripped off of my head. It was the only Cleveland Browns memorabilia I was wearing. It was ripped off my head, and a couple of girls from a section down were like, "Is this your hat?" Cute girls, younger girls. I'm like, "Yeah, can I have it back?" They said, "F you," gave me the finger, and stomped on my hat. So I continued to sip on tequila and cheer for the Browns.
Sounds like a Pittsburgh fan to me.
It was great. So yeah, exactly. So nothing else I can really do about it. But that was, like I said, 15 years ago.
Wow. It's been a long time. I mean, look, as we head into Steeler Week, we kind of teed it up on the last podcast. You know, this whole week, I was just making sure I wasn't missing anything. I was going through all the story headlines this week, and I've been listening and reading.
Right.
Really, the whole week had become about the Hugh Jackson watch. It's officially here. We call on this show the State of Hugh. I mean, it's really now into a whirlwind. The biggest thing that's really came out starting on Sunday night that's really carried the week is the relationship between Haley and Hugh Jackson, which really kind of manifested itself really at the start of Hard Knocks, in my opinion. That's really been the outlier for the week. It's really been a theme. And outside of that, you got this Browns-Steelers game, I think, impacting that. And what I mean is, Jared, you should jump in after I say, this has been the graveyard game for a lot of coaches in the past.
Yep.
Going into Pittsburgh has usually been the time where coaches go to die in Cleveland. And it has all the makings of a funeral, sadly, for us as Browns fans and for Hugh Jackson. Team not going right, spiraling after another bad overtime loss with fumbles and mistakes and miscues, and really an offense that hasn't shown up in the first half. And, fairly so, but Hugh's taking a lot of the brunt for it, and Hugh's not a very good coach, so he deserves it. There also are some other things that are at fault, as we went through last week. I think the wide receivers being light is something that should be put on Dorsey. I think Todd Haley has not had some of the best play calls I've ever seen from
right.
Offensive coordinator. Special teams have really let us down in moments. And really, there has not been a player to lift the team outside of Mayfield's energy at times on the field. Denzel Ward's came really close, and he's doing a great job. I think he actually won the Ravens game. So outside Denzel Ward and Mayfield, even the Myles Garrett, again, I think he's playing good. I don't know if I've seen greatness or any of that kind of level.
What drove me nuts, one of the comments, this once again, it's going back to State of Hugh, it's really difficult to listen to him, right? I at least, I focus on substance when he stands at the podium, Andy. And this guy goes up to the podium and was asked what I thought was a really great question, which was, when we're let's get away from some of the stuff, the headline stuff right now. I want to ask a question about Baker Mayfield. What are your long-term goals for this kid? What are the kind of the stepping stones, the next, the expectations as his career unfolds? And I thought to myself, great, here's a situation where he could, especially because we're talking about a conference where, a division where, the quarterbacks for the other teams have been established for a long time, and that's what we're hoping to do with Baker. And the answer that I would have probably tried to have given was something with a little bit of substance, a little meat with the potatoes, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking to, get the ball downfield a few more times each game. We're looking to get the ball out quickly to help his confidence. We're looking to build the offensive lineup stronger around him so that he's got a little bit more time to make these decisions, a little bit more flex. We're urging him to be more aware when he needs to, release out of the pocket and try to get that extra 5 yards to the sideline instead of, getting sacked or taking a hit when we know the pressure's come. Things that to protect himself, very specific things that don't necessarily give away strategy, but definitely that show you that a coach is thinking about long-term goals. You know what his answer was? You know what his answer was? Look, I'm shaking. I'm so mad again. Yeah, we want him to, we work real hard with him, and we want him to be quarterback in this league a long time, and we hope that we think about his long term, and we want him to be right up there with those other quarterbacks. And what? Another empty-ass answer, Hugh. Empty. Thoughtless. How do you lead a football team and you speak in these vague generalities, these empty, hollow answers every single time? Well, I'm going to have to stick my nose in with the offensive coordinator, and help out. Specifics, Hugh. Specifics. Never does the man speak in a way that helps you understand his thought process of how to run this football team.
We mentioned it a lot. He's never very clear or communicative to really his staff, PR, press, his team. The team knows that they love him and he loves them, but that's about all you get from the communicative stage.
Yeah.
He really does not have, it seems like, advanced stages of planning to what you're noting there. The other thing is, too, I think Hugh really has a hard time really leading, and it's been proven through these statements. It's been proven through things like, well, I'm going to take more of a role and do more impact on the offense. Well, come on. I mean, really, at this point, is that what we're really needing? And seeing what we've done in the past, I go back to many other examples. I thought his bizarre handling of RG3 was bad. I thought that whole thing was weird. And then when he set up on the dais saying, trust me on Cody Kessler, I mean, geez Louise.
Well, he's the head coach, Andy. He's head coach. I'm the head coach. I'm the head coach.
Well, that's my point. I mean, he's had a lot of opportunities here to prove leadership, prove some sort of pivot on the other direction when it comes to momentum. He does not. I guess that's the other thing. I think coaches sometimes can help sway momentum on their team.
Right.
What I mean by that is you can feel something happening and they can take that jolt. Or sometimes you see in sports a technical foul. A good coach can use that momentum to fire up their team and get them to be playing better on the field or on the court. Hugh doesn't have that touch. Hugh's never really shown that ability to do that. Hugh also has a very hard time just making, honestly, game-to-game, play-to-play things. So, I mean, we checked a lot of boxes here for what he's not good at. I think what I'm starting to come to, though, is I've realized Hugh was gone. We've all realized that. That's why I allude to, well, what else is going on around him?
Right.
And that's why I bring up the Haley thing, is I like Haley, and I want Haley to succeed. But if I'm being fair, I don't know if his offensive coordination skills have been very good. I think they've been okay at times.
Right.
They've been better than average. I think he's also had some pretty bad moments at times too, where he's done things and done calls. Again, Dorsey's a good GM. I can tell you that. I don't like how he did the Carlos Hyde trade. I was not a fan of that. I'm not a fan about how he left these wide receivers. look, I mean, you're developing wide receivers to the future, great. But for this year, when you came in saying we're going to win games, I mean.
So then what's the plan, Andy? You talk about going into Pittsburgh and the graveyard of. We all know it's the same thing. It's like Ohio State, Michigan. You can win every game in the world. You can't win that game. You don't belong here. And Pittsburgh, Cleveland. When has Cleveland been a rival? I mean, they disappeared, and it's which one of these guys are going to be able to take over and elevate this team, or at least survive the rest of this season.
Well, okay, so you got to point to some players. We pointed to two of them. So there's Mayfield. I mean, Mayfield has really done a nice job, I thought, of bouncing off raw, good reactions. He talked about things this week like, you just have to do your job. You like to hear those comments from Mayfield. And he also acknowledges that, they have to settle more quickly into the game. He has not played well starting off both these games back-to-back now.
Right.
Chargers and the Buccaneers. He has not looked smooth, and he acknowledges that. I like to hear that. Denzel Ward, again, I thought Denzel Ward really won us the Ravens game.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive from a young guy. The thing is, at a cornerback, I don't know how many of those games you can have a year. So, Mayfield and Denzel Ward, I feel like those are guys you can see. The pieces are in place, right? And those are only first-year players, so you know what the future is. You can see it. I think that's why it's so frustrating. The past years, you'd be like, well, who do you pin on? It's like, well, Joe Hayden kind of past years.
Yeah.
Or maybe you pin yourself on the hopes of, some, Justin Gilbert. I mean, God, vomit. Can you imagine those were the guys we were pinning our hopes on? And Johnny Manziel. It's like we're not there anymore, so we have some establishments in place. So maybe in a way our expectations are too high. But again, there are ways to go around this, and I just don't like – the only thing I don't like about how this season's going is why I went from, hey, make a run and make it exciting, not expectations, just making a run to exciting, to I just got the vibe starting last Friday that this season's kind of checked out.
But that's exactly why I don't know that even if the Browns do get their butts kicked in Pittsburgh this Sunday, that it's going to make any difference with Hugh Jackson's job. I mean, I don't know, but Andy, why fire him if you're already on this season? If you're just gonna wait for the clock to run out anyways.
But here's the thing:
who are they going to replace him with?
Well, they got players. You can do Todd Haley. You can have.
But that's not.
Coaches.
But there's conversations about all three of these guys not being there next year.
So that's next year. That's two. See, those are two different conversations.
Well,
it is. This year's this year. How much longer are you going to allow the Hugh Jackson train to continue?
Yeah.
Again, you and I said this 2 weeks ago, even after the Ravens game. We both answered, and I meant it. I would have fired Hugh Jackson after even the Ravens game.
Yeah.
Why? Because there comes a point you have to get out the issue. Okay? Now, there's other issues, but you have to get out one of the main cogs here. He should have never been brought back.
There it is. He should have never been brought back.
And again, right, and that was the biggest – look – that was the biggest issue here. So, okay, but at the same time, I'm never going to accept, well, just let it play out. I'm not that guy. Well, then you have change, you have turnover. Well, your team stinks anyways. I'm not a big guy anymore of it causes too much chaos. Hey, the coach can't coach. He can't coach.
Yeah.
Let's cut it. If it's not – in this case especially – I'm not seeing a big difference between you being here and not being here.
Right. And do you feel more comfortable because, like you said, we do have actual team, players, include first-year players that are exuding more of a leadership role on this team than anyone since 1999 in some cases.
And with Haley and Greg Williams, you can certainly get through the season. I'm sorry. This isn't Brian Daboll. Okay. You can certainly get now. If you want to talk about next season, that's a whole different conversation. That's why I think you should get rid of Hugh now. I don't understand how it's going to cause chaos. It's already chaotic. This has been a very chaotic last 2 weeks.
Yep.
How could it be any more chaotic if Hugh goes? I don't understand.
Well, and I also think to myself, the Cleveland Browns, for the first time since coming back, are an attractive team for good coaches to come and lead.
Oh, there's no question. And again, there are certain times where a coach does leave and you can argue chaos. I don't see it in this situation at all. I don't understand how Hugh leaving causes chaos. And everybody keeps saying that. I think that's just a saying. I don't think it has any real thought or theory with this team.
Yeah.
Because I actually believe the opposite. I actually think you'll actually have more streamlining with Hugh gone. Sorry, I do. Because now Haley goes, gosh, thank God I can coach this without this guy looking over my shoulder.
Right.
And you get that vibe when he talks to the press. And you get that vibe through Hard Knocks. And you get that vibe through some of the other assistant coaches. And I just don't understand that comment. Well, that always causes a disruption. Your season's disrupted.
Yeah.
What the hell?
He gets in the way. That sounds right. He gets in the way. That's how it looks.
I'm tired of I don't like sports talk phrases, but it disrupts the season. Shut up! Your season's disrupted. You're so wrong.
About 18 years of disruption.
Too much. It's like people don't have thought. It's like thought gum. No. The season's screwed up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Get rid of you. I don't want to hear. Sometimes people say things without meaning or thought, and I've heard that way too much this week. But it's going to disrupt the season. Oh, shut up. The season's disrupted. What's another thing with you going? In fact, I think it's going to bring clarity to the team. I will predict. I bet you they play better.
Oh, I'd put money on that. I would. I wouldn't put money on many things with this team, but I put money on that they play better when he's gone. I'll put money on it right now. The whole mood, Andy, will change in that locker room when that man no longer stands in front of the team and spouts off his empty words as he has for the past 2.5 years.
I agree with you.
In one ear and out the other with those players with him, I guarantee it. Oh, but they like him. He's a player's coach. That's because they get away with murder. That's probably the only thing. That's the only reason. I can't see how the guy earns respect as a person, yes, but not as a coach.
People have to realize this. We're not saying personally. This is business.
Exactly.
Business. I would have a drink with you, Jackson Martin. I bet he's actually a really nice guy.
Absolutely.
It's not personal. This is business. He's not getting it done. He's not cutting it, as I like to say in business. So I don't want to hear that stuff.
Well, I think we've rolled out the specifics of Hugh Jackson, and it's ironic because I go back to I haven't heard the guy lay out any specifics about how he makes this football team better, his goals, his ideals. It's always generalities every time.
I'm just calling him out. I don't think he has any plans at this point. I think this whole thing has evaporated very quickly. And by the way, it may have evaporated before the season started. It's very obvious to me after watching this even last year. This whole thing has been just trudging around.
Yeah.
And anyways, I don't want to, again, I relive stuff that's previous. I can't believe he's here. Now he's here. Time to get rid of him. I would have gotten rid of him 2 weeks ago, even after a win. So
yep.
I stand by my comments 2 weeks ago. On to the game itself, because we could do that forever, and that could be a merry-go-round.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I was going to say was, the other question is, on top of it all, you've got what looks to be your franchise quarterback, and the quarterback whisperer. Does he make the quarterback any better? Is it holding Baker Mayfield back to have Hugh Jackson coaching this team? Other than that,
what do you think I'm going to say?
Yeah, we're done. We're good. I know.
Of course he is. I mean, Hugh Jackson.
It's for those who want to argue this against this is why I say it.
But I don't even think that's there anymore. And if you're there, you know what? You should replay everything we've been doing because I don't think he's a very good coach. And in fact, I think statistically his record says it alone. If you want to go through more examples, go through some of those wonderful quotes Jared Watson just put out there, my partner. There's other wonderful things out there, too, that says Staley that are very...
They weren't verbatim, just for clarity's sake.
But they're mind-numbing. They make your... Again, he just does not come off of a guy who is a leader, who, again, I'm a big believer in this in a coach as well. I think it's a fourth of the job. Pivoting momentum. He doesn't pivot momentum on this team. He doesn't take a negative and make it into a positive.
No.
He doesn't make it a positive into a better or bigger thing. He has never done that here.
No, he operates out of fear.
I think he operates out of fear, and I think he just being honest, Jared, I don't think he's a very good coach.
Just leave it at that.
I mean, honestly,
Hugh Jackson, not a good coach.
He's not a good coach.
The end.
On to the injury front now. Unless you'd like to spout any more from the.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. It was just
You sure you got the last one?
I just can't. I can't listen to the guy when I'm driving anywhere. I've learned that. So that's.
Well, he's dangerous on the roads for sure in Baltimore. So drivers beware. On the injury front, no Higgins. He's still a week away.
Yeah.
Even Hugh was very direct about that, saying he does not expect him to play. Schobert is no go. Gaines still in concussion protocol. Boy, I had dyslexia there. And then on the trade front, there's been a lot of rumors about the Browns doing trades, but nothing has come down yet outside of the trades Carlos Hyde. Which for people who think, who wonder my thoughts on that, you can go back to the show on Sunday. Or Monday. I was not really a big fan of that. All right, so let's go to our 4 burning questions we do every Friday. Number 1, I'll let you lead off on this one. It's been the topic all week, and we kind of alluded to it. So, forgetting our feelings and thoughts, let's actually predict what will happen. Let's say the Browns do lose in Pittsburgh. Will Hugh be there on Monday?
I still, at this point, because I can't tell what direction that Dorsey or the rest of the front office or anybody's going in, I'm going to say it's a coin flip.
Yeah. I think it's actually more towards he's going to be gone.
Okay.
I think this game is really – I think he's had 2 of these games now.
Yeah.
The Jets game and the Ravens game, and now the Steelers game. I think that these games have all had the same vibe. I think if he loses this game, even if it's close, I think Hugh Jackson's out. I think he has to win this game. I really do. Will the Browns make a trade before the deadline? There's been a lot of rumors about that this week. I'll answer this first. I don't think they will make a trade.
Yeah.
I actually think if they do, it's going to be a big, huge, splashy one. I don't think there's a lot more for the Browns to do outside of that. They don't really want to give up bigger picks to make anything done, and honestly, I don't see them making another 5th round for a starter, and I would be shocked if they did. You want to even hear my opinion? I think that'd be a bad trade again. So I just don't see what the Browns can do. So I'm surprised. A lot of people think they will make a trade. I mean, I don't have any insight, but I would just say as a guess, I don't think they will. What do you think?
I think that the odds. I think that they probably have a plan in place. This is my mind. That they possibly have a plan in place that if they can win this Sunday, then there's reason to make a trade.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a very fair point. I agree. That's well said. I think also if a team is desperate enough, and obviously the one name that gets out there is Thomas from the Broncos, and he can play. He's a player. If the price is right, you have to make that trade for Thomas. You have to. You have to make that trade.
Yeah, and I think I think that the price could be right because what are we talking about here? We're talking about a Denver team that is not where they thought they would be right now, correct?
Yeah, and I like Thomas. Cooper is different. I'm a big fan of Thomas. I think Thomas is a player. I really like him. I think he has not been really utilized as much as he should. I think he'd be great here. Again, if the price is right, I think Thomas is a good – that's why I'm saying I think it's going to be a big name like that. I don't see too much else really going on the trade deadline. So I think it's less. I think it's more like 25%, unless it's something like that. And I agree. I think the Steeler game puts a big weight onto the percentage. I think it's a good point. I'll let you lead off this one. Offensive lineman. This has been bantered about too. I saw in a lot of articles and different sounds this week. We don't really talk about that in the last couple, but it should be brought up. Harrison and Hubbard have really not looked good.
See, and it's funny because when you listen, there's a lot of praise for the way that Desmond Harrison has been playing. I felt like I was taking crazy pills when I started hearing compliments being thrown his way about 2 weeks ago. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, he is as young as he is and being thrown in there. But at the end of the day, I think at the beginning of the season, I think this offensive line has slowly gotten worse. I think that pocket collapses way too quickly on several occasions to the point where, people are yelling at Baker, taking those, whether it be a coverage sack or whatever, but it's still that he's not having a lot of time back there. And the way that the pocket's collapsing, it's collapsing around him, so he's got nowhere to escape a lot of times too. Yeah, so I'd say maybe a C- at this point, borderline D.
Yeah, I was gonna give the same grade. I was gonna give a C-. I just think this offensive line has really been has had no flow or rhythm at all. And I think part of that goes to when you lose Hall of Famer. So I think in the draft, no matter what happens, they're going to have to look for one of the two tackles.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying first rounds. I don't believe in that. But I think in the second or third round, you should really take a deep look and what tackles are available, because I think you're going to need to get one, maybe even two in the later rounds.
Yep.
The offensive line has been very disjointed. I've not really seen a rhythm from that side of the ball. I don't think it's played bad, but I don't think it's played good. And I know what people have been harping on this week, because Harrison Hubbard got beat pretty badly by Pierre Paul and by our old friend Nassib.
Yeah.
And they did not look good. So I think the analytics and that stuff, whatever.
Boy, they made Nassib look good.
No, Nassib played well.
Yeah.
And by the way, that says a lot about Nassib. He was obviously inspired to play against the Browns.
Can't blame him.
Can't blame him. That happens a lot in sports. It's not just a Cleveland thing. But, again, I think the offensive line, it's another unit. It's funny. The more and more we go throughout the season, the less and less gets brought up about defense, because I think the defense is kind of settled down. It's the offense where you can definitely tell where it's going to be worked on.
And despite the injuries, too, with that defense in the secondary, I mean, not having Gaines back again this week is going to be...
It's challenging, but he didn't do that bad. I mean,
no, he's not.
They
not at all.
really didn't. I mean, the problem last week was Winston just got out of coverage. And, Ben does the same thing. Now, Ben's not as nimble, so he's not going to be, he's not going to be as...
No, and then Todd Haley's not there with Big Ben anymore either, and that was a lot of what they worked on with him.
No, but Ben does a great job of eluding sacks, and he does a nice job of stepping into stepping into defenders, and he, because of his big body, he does that. I've never seen really a quarterback like that, and not to put him on some sort of pedestal. It's just he has a great skill of knowing how to take a hit, and also knowing how to really step into a pass. That's why he's lasted so long in this league. He does a nice job with that. All right, so we talk on the offense, and I kind of laid this out in the four different things, and I'll go first on this one.
Yep.
So who's more to blame at the end of the day? Is it Todd Haley and the Hugh Jackson dynamic? Is that part of it? Is it the lack of weapons, the rookie quarterback, which I think plays a role? I really do. We just alluded to the offensive line, or is it really just Hugh Jackson? It's easy to go to answer D here, and I think that obviously is the big hover point. So to be different in this, I really think at the end of the day that we all got to remember, when you don't have a ton of weapons and you have a rookie quarterback, sometimes this is what you're going to have.
Yep.
And I think the reason why I brought this question up is I think it's really all the above. I think at times we've had all these different things kind of playing off each other, and I think that's why the offense has really struggled.
I think I want to lay a little blame on these players, because I feel like they're a team this season that can actually take a little blame, and not. Well, I mean, what I mean is. I don't feel like I'm beating up on these young guys with expectations when I blame them, but I'm going to go with B and C. I'm going to say the lack of weapons with Mayfield and the offensive line play combined, because you're looking at all the penalties and all the drop passes. You want to talk about an offense that can't get in rhythm and can't score early. Those two reasons that I just gave are exactly why. Drop passes and penalties and pre-snap penalties, and both of those lie on the offensive line and the fact that they have no weapons. And that's...
Yeah.
Which sounds awful when we talk about no weapons, because we do have Duke Johnson, we do have Landry, and Njoku's been stepping up catch-wise. But the issue is you need somebody to open it up for Landry. You need one more. You need a true number one receiver.
Playmaker.
Not a slot being your number one.
No, you need a playmaker.
Yeah.
Like Duke Johnson's good. Landry's good. Good player.
Yep.
These aren't superstars. You need a real good playmaker, athletic freak to really go through a defense, and the Browns just do not have that player.
Yep.
They don't have him. All right, so we kind of drum rolled all the stuff into one. You want me to go first? Browns having a chance to win in Pittsburgh? Hell no. The Browns would be very lucky to win this game. I get the funny feeling they're going to play a lot better than what people expect. Todd Haley's really alluded to some positivity. I think the Browns are going to fight hard, but I don't think they're going to win in Pittsburgh. I think they lose this game 26-20. I think they just do not have enough, and I think Hugh Jackson, even with that tight score, will still be fired on Monday.
I think the Browns win.
Wow, good for you.
I think this is a week where we walk away going, what the hell did I just watch? Where has this team been? How did that happen in Pittsburgh? Wow, did they shut that crowd up? Freakier things have happened, and I'm feeling it. I'm a gambling man this week. I'm wearing, you don't see me right now, I'm freezing cold in my office. I'm wearing this dumb hat, which is probably why I'm making this dumb pick. But go Browns. I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to win. I think they're going to put up some points this week. Not a ton, but I'm looking 28, maybe 28, a few more. You know,
If they score 28 points, they'll win.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't know what's the weather look like. I didn't even take a look for Sunday.
I'll tell you what, as I look up that, I mean, the one thing that I will say that you're kind of alluding to,
yeah,
there has definitely been a momentum that turned yesterday with, Haley. You can tell Haley really wants this game. And by the way, that's what you do want. You want a guy like Haley to be fired up, and he was the assistant there, so of course he wants to show up Pittsburgh.
The weather's going to be awesome for this game. Rainy and 50-degree football at Heinz Field. So a cold rain here early in the fall.
That should play really into the Browns' hands.
I think so too, especially on the turnover side of things.
Yeah. So, this will be the second rain game for these two. I mean, again, time will tell. I hope you're right. I just think there's too much negative here. Because I know what you're saying. I felt that way starting yesterday. I'm like, well, I think we kind of hit rock bottom here on the mentality poll. But, Again, I just think the Steelers off a bye week, knowing what they do.
Yeah, off 2 wins in a bye week.
Yeah, I just think it's too much. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Jared's right. And hopefully the Browns will pull it off. We'll have to see. Around the NFL, this is, you're going to hear this consistently on both the college and NFL. Not a great week. A lot of teams taking byes in both leagues. In the NFL, really the only game that sticks out in the Sundays 1-4s is the Packers-Rams at 4:25. That's a great game. It's in L.A. It's a Fox game. And then the Sunday night game's a real good one. Saints and Vikings. That's a great game.
Yeah.
Sexy game. Drew Brees. Vikings need that game. Very good Sunday night football game. Really, you can debate the rest of those games, but I don't think there's anything must watch. And I'm sorry, unless you're a Pats or Bills fan, you're not watching Monday Night Football. I will not watch a second of that game.
What is that? What did they expect out of the Bills this season?
I don't know. Bad Monday Night Football game, because I just cannot see that being competitive. I will not watch a second of that.
No.
Last week I was 2-1 on my picks, so here we go for this week. I didn't kind of like the games. I didn't see a lot. So here are the games I took. I think the Kitty Cats, the Bengals, get a win off the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
This is more about the Buccaneers. I don't think the Buccaneers are that great. I thought the Browns. That's why that loss was so upsetting. The Buccaneers are just not that good.
Nope.
And to see the Browns play that way, I can't fathom how they gift wrapped that game so many times. The Browns just couldn't take it. Bengals need that game. They've lost multiple games in a row. I think the Bengals win at home. They're 3.5. You take the 3.5. Jets and Bears, again, similar here. It's rainy, cold. Jets lost to the Vikings. The Bears lost a tight game to the Pats. I think the Bears are better than what we thought going into the year. The Bears, I think, went big. I think they blow out the Jets. I love this game, and I would take the 8 and run. I had a hard time picking a third one, but I like taking one underdog a week, so I'll take the home dog and the Panthers. Again, it's more about the Ravens. I think the Ravens, as the year has gone on, has finally shown who they are. They're not a bad team, but they're certainly not a good team. I think they're going to end up at 4-4 after this game. The Panthers are one of those goofy teams, is when you watch them play, they don't look crisp. They don't play a great game, but they somehow win. They won in Philly last week, which was a great win for them. I'm surprised Vegas has them as a 2.5 dog. I'll take them. You take 2.5 points in the Panthers this week. So Bengals 3.5. Bears 8. Those are both homes. I'm taking all home teams. I'm taking the Panthers at home as well. 2.5 dog. And again, a light week in the NFL. And I guess just to really wrap up, to hopefully Jared's point, hopefully the Browns do win. Because if so, this whole thing changes into Monday. If it does not, starting at 4:01 or whenever the game ends, it's going to be the Hugh Watch.
Worst part of the Browns, if they do beat Pittsburgh, is we'll still be on a Hugh Watch.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Jared. You're right, but again, it prolongs the inevitable.
Yeah.
I just think there's too much negative momentum. I hope I'm wrong, but I just think there's too much.
I don't think I hope I'm wrong. Are you talking about the win or coach?
I'll tell you, buddy. I hope I'm wrong when it comes to Browns losing. I would love to see the Browns
yeah.
I really would. I just the inevitable's there, but anyways, we rehash that. Rewind the podcast so you can hear it back. All right, let's talk about another coaching legend right now in the state of Ohio.
Ohio State football.
Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes.
Yeah, Ohio State really trying to figure out their lives in regard to. So they ended up calling back guys that were out scouting to come back and help get this run game figured out. Was a part of what Urban had tried to make happen this week. Pulled his assistants off the recruiting trail and in the scheduled off week to try to figure out and have it fixed for Nebraska. Not that they don't really even need it fixed for Nebraska. They just need to, but at the same time.
I think it's smart.
Yeah.
I think it's smart. Yeah.
With the rest of it, though, I got aggravated when I read quotes from defensive coordinator Greg Schiano talking about, I know it stinks to lose and it's, look at the scoreboard and see what it was, but I don't think we're very far off in regards to the defense not being a problem with Ohio State this season. Looking at their secondary, looking at their safeties, looking at, the huge holes in coverage and the huge gains off the line of scrimmage, linebackers look like ass. Their defense looks like ass. I don't know how you can even say that they don't have a problem on defense. This is one of the worst defenses I have seen out of a Buckeye team in my memory. Honestly, I don't remember seeing a team get gashed like they do. And it's not all the time. Sometimes it's just in the first half, but it's enough to make you think, what is going on here?
Yeah, Indiana, Minnesota, and Purdue, when you hear gashed, I can think of examples from all three games.
Yes.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I know what you're alluding to. I think it's more of a team thing. I think offensively and defensively, everybody's in a funk.
Right.
I think it's really been look, it's Captain Obvious. Urban Meyer's had a weird year, and deservedly so. What happened with him and Zach was terrible. It was handled inappropriately. Urban should not have been brought back. Okay, he's back. So now how do you turn it forward? The biggest thing that I've heard a lot of people this week saying Urban Meyer could be out, rumors about him going away. I'll be honest with you, I'm not seeing that as much as I did feeling that of Florida when he was there. I'm not seeing that here. I'm seeing a guy who's really having a hard time because he's having a lot of different things going on in his life. I think this has now become a year for Urban Meyer where it's a survive and get through to 19. That I will agree with. I don't think he's going anywhere. In fact, I think
really?
Wow. I don't. I'm surprised how many people think this is just going to be Chuck and Bale. I don't think this is easy for anyone. And I'll be honest with you, they had a chance to get rid of him, and they didn't. I don't think Urban's going to retire. I don't think he's going to resign. And I don't think Ohio State's going to fire him. They had their chance back in September, and they chose not to.
Well, I go back to my thoughts in regard to Urban, where I talk about head coaches of big time football teams in college football, big time NCAA teams, and the egos on these guys, and they think that they are these omnipotent beings. And that's just not the case. I think that if Urban Meyer were a normal person, he'd retire, say thank you very much. Yeah. It's time to go home. I'm glad I came back after after I coached Florida. I'm glad I gave it another shot. We got a national championship. Now it's time to go and hang out with my daughters and all that good stuff. But again, egos, man, egos. Dude ain't going anywhere unless he's fired. That's just the way I see it.
And that's my point. And I don't think, and they can't fire him. I really don't think they can. I don't think they will. He hasn't. I mean, if you didn't think he should have been fired back in August, you can't. How can you fire him now?
Such a bad taste in our mouths, though, for a lot of people, a lot of fans.
I think. See, this is where it's difference between Hugh and what we're talking about here. You had your opportunity, and I don't know if you can get it back. Meaning, I don't know how it's going to look PR wise. In the case of like the Browns, you can correct it. It's just a on the field thing. Because the off the field stuff that went on. I think Urban Meyer firing him is going to be tough. I just see a lot of trouble here with this. I think Meyer stays. I think he survives. I think he's going to come back motivated. I just do.
Well, I guess
maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm seeing here.
Well, it's your take on this is, most people, the reason that they have those takes is because you're coming off a big loss like that against Purdue team, and so that's why that conversation is going around. Although I will say there were murmurs, a game or two ago of these things, because I think that the signs are kind of there. You're right, though. I don't know that the AD's got the what's to make that move.
Well, but again, like it's that, but it's more than that now. It's a tough spot.
Especially if they come back and start winning. Especially if they fix this.
I know.
They fix it, and then winning fixes everything.
Again, I think this is going to be just fine. I don't know. I've been fascinated by this, and people I really well respected are thinking it's going to careen into a ditch for Meyer, but I don't see it happening. I think he'll be okay. I think they'll win these games. I think Michigan's tough to call. We'll have to see how the season plays out. But I think they beat Nebraska, Michigan State. Yeah. I think they get by those games. Time will tell. I will say, though, Myers at the first time in his Ohio State career being challenged now. Losing to Iowa, you can shake it off. You got your resume, whatever else. With everything that's happened this year, Myers being challenged. And it'll be interesting to see how he takes that challenge. I think he's going to take it head on and want to prove people. I really do.
Yep, that ego.
That ego. Time will tell. I think that thirst to win. But all that said, it was supposed to be a quiet week, usually bye week. But, boy, it was anything but for Ohio State. I want to allude to this first before we get to the Notre Dame thing.
Yep.
This has been I talked about this 3 weeks ago. October college football used to be such a big month. It used to be Florida State, Miami played, Alabama, Tennessee, third Saturday in October, Notre Dame and SC, the years it's in South Bend. This year, just such a weak lineup, and no better example than this week. Florida, Georgia, the cocktail party is great. I'll tell you, anything else, I think you're really grasping.
Well, this is like 3 weeks in a row we've had this discussion, too.
Yeah, it's been really weak. And I'll tell you, the biggest problem, no Ohio State, no Michigan, LSU, or Alabama. Those are 4 big-time schools off the map, so college football kind of just floats along. Like I said, Florida and Georgia is a big game.
Yep.
It decides a lot in the East. It decides a lot for the national championship, too. If Georgia wins that game, it gets harder. They play at Kentucky the following week. Florida, it finally eases up for them. They don't have as much they don't really play as many tough games down the stretch. Georgia is the reverse. They have to go to Kentucky.
Does Florida beat this Georgia team it's in Georgia, right?
It's in Jacksonville. It's that traditional game of the cocktail party. I think this is a tough game because Georgia's really had a strange week. They came off a loss to LSU.
Right.
They're losing recruits. They lost another top recruit today, as announced. The number 1 running back overall is not going to Georgia anymore. They lost another top recruit weeks prior to that. So Georgia's had a lot of strange, bad momentum, really, for the last month or so. And they didn't play well leading up to the LSU game, and now They got Florida. Mullins comes off a big win against LSU. They keep rolling along. They beat Vanderbilt, but they both have bye weeks. If you really look at the matchup, Georgia should win, especially if their quarterback plays as well as he should. I will take Georgia just because I think their back's up against the wall. But, boy, if you have to point to Uncle Mo, all the momentum's with Florida. I mean,
that's how I feel about it. I don't know how Georgia takes that game. I mean, Georgia's
got the better quarterback, and Georgia's got better athletes. The better defense is with Florida. So you got to parlay that however you want. But I'm telling you, Georgia is the better team, and they have the better quarterback.
Right.
They should win that game. They should.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I would take Georgia. Wouldn't gamble on it. I would take the Dogs. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. I think the Dogs do win this game. I think they're just a better team. Notre Dame's at Navy. In past years, I'd be worried about Navy, but they're 2-5. They've really been beaten up. Notre Dame off a bye coming into this game. Kelly's with byes have been usually pretty good coming off a bye. Again, usually Navy makes me nervous, but because Notre Dame had a whole week to prepare, I think Notre Dame should be ready for this. They go down the stretch here. Really, the games do get a little tougher at the end with Syracuse. I know Syracuse has been weird lately. They beat North Carolina in overtime. They have a big game to play NC State this week and at home in the Dome. But I really think Notre Dame now is poised with what everything's been going on to win this game. I will say, as a Notre Dame fan, I don't like how this game's at night. I don't like how it's...
Yeah, well, now you know how I feel with those Buckeyes games at night.
Yeah,
those primetime games are no good.
Not a fan of this game being on at night. And and again, Navy has been giving Notre Dame fits for the last 8 to 10 years.
Yep.
So to say that I don't see that happening is not true. But with the bye week, seeing that Navy is really having a down year, Notre Dame should win this game by 10+. I think they will. Again, if Navy's in a tussle with Notre Dame, that wouldn't surprise me either. And that's really, again, and I love talking college football. It's one of the lighter weeks. Finally, I was given misinformation the week before. It is the release of the playoffs this Tuesday.
Right.
So we get to analyze all that stuff coming up in the next podcast, and we can go from there. And then get to talk a little round ball.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
And how about 0-5? Anybody have 0-5 with the Cavs?
I wasn't expecting 0-5, but I knew 0-5 was a very real personality. Possibility, rather.
So our dear Cavs, I think I'm officially now, if there's a worry buzzer, I'm worried. This is not going well. I'll let you take it from there. I'll go to my opinion here in a second. Bob?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that when we talk of, and I don't mean to jump ahead in your show prep notes here, but, well, I'll try not to. We're talking about a team that is basically being built around, for better or worse, built around Kevin Love at this point, right? I mean, we're all in on Kevin Love. So how much input do you think he's playing in regard to what they do, trade-wise, move-wise? And what is he doing leadership-wise to help this team find an identity? Because it's just not there. These guys don't get it. And I mean, I like JR with his tweet. You're either all in or you're all out. There's still some guys there that are living off of 2016, and I get it. And they should use that if they need to dig deep. But what exactly is, again, the end goal? What is the end goal here?
Well, I think that's a good question. Let's get to the on the court. I want to get to that question.
Yeah.
So the Cavs lost again last night, 110-103.
Ugh.
They lost to the Nets on Wednesday, and they lost by double digits again at home. I think the bigger thing that I'm seeing here, that's why I'm really worried. So they gave up 130 points all those games before. The last two, they've been under 110. I mean, well, they were at 110 last night, but the other game.
That's a tough Detroit team, too. That Pistons team is having a really good start.
A really good start off back-to-back. All that said, but they're pros, and they play the game. They toss them up the same way.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm saying about the Cavs that I'm noticing is there's no identity. I don't get a vibe for this team. The guard play on this team outside of Sexton is very concerning.
Yeah, but even Sexton had his struggle recently, too.
No, he did, but I like Sexton. See, I see stuff in Sexton. I think Sexton's going to be good. I think Hill, Hood, it's getting late early. I just don't know how much you can
I don't know what we ever expected to get out of them. I knew it was kind of a hopeful, let's see if this works kind of a thing with those guys, and it hasn't at all.
I saw this stat and my jaw dropped. In the last two games, I want people to guess this in their head, then we'll tell them. How many assists did Hill and Hood have in 2 games? How many assists? They had 1. Let me repeat that. 1 assist in 2 games. Your starting guards. It's all you need to know about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hill and Hood are problems. I think Hill's a veteran, needs to be traded. I think Rodney Hood is just, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know where the Utah Jazz player was that was very good and up-and-coming player. I don't know where that Rodney Hood is, but he's not in Cleveland.
No.
He's not playing well.
No. We thought it was like a LeBron issue possibly last year, and it had nothing to do. He's just not the guy.
No, I think we're starting to realize defense. It wasn't as much LeBron. Rodney Hood wasn't as much as LeBron. like Rodney Hood's a real problem. Again, we talked about what kind of team is this? I thought they're going to be fast paced. Then they gave up too many points, and now they're losing points by under 110. I mean, I don't know. Cavs are really.
They were held to 80 against the Nets, weren't they?
Got to find an identity. Have to find an identity. This team, and again, I don't mean to pick on one person. I picked on Hill and Hood, but I'm going to bang this drum until I start seeing better play. Chetty Osman's got to improve. If he's going to play 30 minutes or high 20s a game. I mean, you're fouling out on 3 points on a Thursday.
Ooh.
I do not understand Chetty Osman. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I don't understand it. Nice kid, good kid. He's not that good. I don't see it. I'm not seeing anything on the court when he plays.
No.
Nothing.
No.
And he plays a lot of minutes. I mean, a lot of minutes. That Chetty Osman is the flag of concern last week, and that's why I'm hitting the worried buzzer, because I don't understand how much longer you can see Chetty Osman playing 20-plus minutes to 30 minutes a night doing what he's doing. I just don't get it. Fouling out with 3 points on a Thursday?
No, they're brutal, and I mean to their can we give them a little bit of a break because it was a night where Kevin Love is taking a little injury rest.
Again, it is, but that's the problem.
But Chetty would have been playing. He's already been playing that many minutes as it is in games.
I know, but here's the thing, and I think this is where, Kobe Altman's going to have a real challenge now, and you can look at it as a challenge, a positive, or a challenge that's going to give him nightmares. He's going to get a chance to make a lot of moves now, because the way this is going, the Cavs aren't going to be here much longer when it comes to, hey, this team's going to stick together. I mean, the way I don't see it, I mean, they're going to obviously win a game at some point, but I just don't know how this is going to get much better.
Exactly, and that's the question is, and I know that I had brought up earlier in one of our podcasts about let's get 30 games in before we have a real feel, but I don't think we need to wait that long. I don't think we need to wait that long. We have seen some consistency in these 5 games already, and it's not a good thing.
The only thing, I don't know, you can't do it yet because you have to give 20 games at least. So Kobe's doing the right thing. You have to wait 20. You have to wait 20 games. You just have to. You can't do it this soon. But by 2021, I mean, you can start making moves. That's fine. But they got. I mean, the way it's going, you gotta wonder they're starting to contemplate that way. The other thing too, I think that's happening to the Cavs that I didn't put here, but I should have listed. I think the aura and the dominance and how teams were annoyed with them over the years is coming back to haunt them. Meaning the Cavs aren't a good team, but there's a lot of teams that are ready to stick it to the Cavs. The Cavs have won a lot the last 4 years.
Yep.
And I think they played all East Coast teams. I think all those East Coast teams, aside from Minnesota, said, you know what's enough.
So
after you get slapped around a little bit.
Is this a lottery team at the end of the season?
I don't see how it's not.
And we were talking 8, 7, 6 seed for a high. Granted, it was a hope, but we knew it was a hope beyond hopes. But it's really obvious. Yeah, we're more a lottery team than we are a playoff team.
The guard play is so bad. Outside of Clarkson and Sexton, I think Clarkson and Sexton are good. I like those two guys a lot.
Yes.
But the two guards we have mainly go to Hill and Hood are not playing well. And again, I can't get over how bad Chetty Osman's been playing. It's so noticeable on the floor. I was talking to another former NBA player before we came on, and he said it's eye-opening. It's like, what are they been watching?
Including LeBron, because LeBron loved the guy, right? He brought him out to practice with him before the season started.
I mean, you got to give Chetty Osman 20 games too, but 5 games in, I don't know. I'm just not. I have nothing. when I watch him play, he just gunks up the works. I don't know what else to say. I'm surprised about how much they're going to him.
Do you think maybe Jetty was a little higher on himself than he should have been, and that's kind of affecting the way he's playing right now? I mean, I can't.
I don't know. I just don't.
Does analyzing these things even matter at this point?
But that's my point. I mean, so, Hill, Hood, and Chetty start your starting lineup. And I don't think those three players are playing well at all.
No. What are you going to do with them? Who wants them? Who wants those guys, and what do you get for them?
That's why I think the inevitable might be here. Again, I think Colin Sexton's playing good. I guess I think he's a good player. I like him a lot. I like his stats. I like his numbers. I like his aggressiveness. He's just trying to figure out the league. He's getting little to no help outside Jordan Clarkson in some of these games. The other thing I will say that I think you're going to start really ramping up.
Yep.
Tristan Thompson, Kyle Korver. I think some other players. I think the trade rumor machine will really ramp up. I think 0-5 can definitely at least hit the light switch on to see what's out there. I would be surprised if they're not taking offers, but they're listening. They're seeing what's out there.
Yep.
I think you're going to start hearing more.
Where's Coach Lou in all of this? Do you think? I can't get a read on anything with him yet either.
He's had a rough start.
I don't know what he. I mean,
I'll tell you why. Because this defense has carried with them from last year to this year.
Well, their defense hasn't really been their shiniest parts, over the past 4 years either. I mean, it just hasn't.
I know, but that's my point. It's carried. It's unfortunate, but Ty Lue's a part of this too now. And I like Ty. I love Ty. He's one of my favorite people. But this is not good. I think he would tell the same thing, if he's being honest. This is not good. I mean, it's eye-opening, this 0-5. They play against Indiana on Saturday. You don't want to get this at 10. I would start winning soon. You don't want to go 0-10, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Looking at that schedule, where do they get their win? Do they get their win against the Pacers at home, against the Hawks at home?
Why play the Hawks at home again? Jeez Louise.
On Tuesday.
Jeez Louise. I would say the Hawks. Well, the Hawks at home is a good. All right.
The Nuggets at home, the Hornets on the road, the Magic on the road.
Yeah, you win that. You got two games. The Atlanta game. That's the game. All right. That's what we need to talk. There you go.
There it is.
That's the fail-safe game. If they lose, which I think they will against Indiana on Saturday, that's your fail-safe game. That is the game of no return.
Yes.
If you lose that game, I really think you start seeing the steady slide. Because I think after that, it could get dangerous.
Oh, I can't think of anything else. I mean, honestly, I don't have anything.
The Cavs are very obvious right now, and that's not good. What you wanted to see is things to talk about. Hey, here's some things. Here's some fun. This is going to not be a good topic through January, because after that, it's all going to be just the same old Cavs. You don't want this to be the topic through Christmas.
Nope.
And it's feeling that
When's
way.
the last time you'd rather watch a Browns game over a Cavs game?
No, it's bad.
How long's that been?
And again, I want to repeat, I think Chetty Osman has to start improving. If you're going to play that guy that many minutes, and I don't know why they are, but they are, he has to start improving. Sorry.
I don't see it,
3 points and a foul out, I don't see it at all either.
No, and a lot of the traveling and a lot of the he's just looked very sloppy, very sloppy.
Again, I don't want to put it on one guy, but because of the amount of minutes he's playing, if he continues to play like this, it's going to be a sinking ship, the Titanic, in the middle of the queue. It's going to be that bad.
Do you know that the team, by the way, in that loss to Detroit, between Nance and Sexton with their 10 assists, the rest of the team combined for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 assists.
Yeah.
8 assists for the rest of the team besides Nance and Sexton's combined 10.
Got to get some.
That's telling. That's telling.
Their guard play is so poor outside of Sexton.
Wow.
I don't know. I think I think this is much worse than what we thought, and I think it's a desert. I hope I'm wrong after 5 games, but I think I've seen enough.
JR with 20 minutes and no points, 2 rebounds. Not that I'm expecting a lot, but
again,
there's blame across the board.
Let's say I'll repeat this more on the next podcast, but it'll be a theme. If they lose to Indiana, the fail-safe game's on Tuesday night. You better win that game.
They have to.
Is it not? I think you're going to double digits.
Woo!
Big game. Well, speaking about watching anything, let's wrap up the show.
Yep.
A little baseball. It's been a big topic around the ratings for the World Series and not been good. It's not your typical Diamondbacks. You can blame it on some, weird team being in the World Series like Tampa Bay. Nothing like that. I mean, this is the Dodgers and Red Sox. It really doesn't get much higher than that when it comes to World Series. And the problem that I've noticed all throughout the playoffs, which we talked about in here, which is going to talk about other places too, the analytics of this game, I think, has really brought this game down. And it's good for this sport. And this sport's embraced it more than any other. But I feel way too much in these games. The games have not been terrible so far, in my opinion. They've been better, actually, but they're still not good. The Red Sox are really just they're just a better team, to be honest. They get big hits and big spots in 2 outs.
Oh, yeah.
And when you do that, and then
I told you from the beginning of Game 1, this team does not look spooked, nervous, intimidated whatsoever.
And by the way, I don't think the Dodgers do either. I think they're just losing to the better team.
Yeah.
I really do. But that said, so that's your first 2 games of the World Series. David Price again pitched well. It's amazing. Ever since that Game 7 now, that's back-to-back performances for him. I'm at Game 7, sorry, Game 5 in Houston. I guess the thing that I just find more fascinating is how no one's talking about this World Series, how there's no momentum for this World Series. We talk about worried button. Baseball's got to be worried about what's going on in this game. And I love baseball. I will be there tonight. I will be there throughout the weekend. But the sport has no momentum right now.
None. Nope. And the powers that be believe that marketing. Again, I've talked about this before. The marketing of the game is really failing as well too. I think they're pointing at the wrong things. They're trying to be hip and cool, and they're trying to steal things from the NBA and with the jerseys or whatever, the shoes, stuff like that. But that doesn't change what happens on the field. That's not impacting and they have baseball has a huge problem when it comes to star power. And to taking advantage of the guys that they should be. I mean, how is Jose? Not that Jose Ramirez had a great finale to the season, but how is Jose Ramirez not like a known name across the country within baseball?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do because of it. It's a Spanish-speaking man, which that's not his fault. And
that's probably a part of it.
I think that's part of it, to be honest with you. I think
that's unfortunate in my opinion.
It's unfortunate I could not have said it better. It should not matter what language you speak, but I do think that affects some things that are going on. I think biggest problem in baseball, to be honest with you, there's little to no action. And again, this sport has become way too focused on how to get the hitter out. What they need to start focusing on is how to get the ball in play. And until they start thinking that way, I think the sport's going to go down the tubes when it comes to viewership because, again, there's no action in these games.
Nope.
Way too many strikeouts. There's way too many shifts. I'm tired of all this stuff. I never thought I'd say this, but there's got to be more to help out the hitter.
And it doesn't have to be like the 90s. We don't need everyone juicing up. We don't need – you don't need that to have good baseball.
No, but I'll tell you this. They cannot keep going on like this. And the mound visits and the stepping out, they're going to have to get a pace of play. They're going to need to get a clock in. I think that actually would add more to baseball, to be truthful. I just think baseball has become way too analytical. Everybody's trying to outsmart themselves, and they're not allowing the game to flow. I guess that's the biggest point.
You combine that with 162 regular season games, and you just have a recipe for failure.
Yeah, I don't mind as much as others do, but I gotta be fair. I hear that a lot, so it's a good trumpeted point.
There's no urgency, and you know what I mean. You get to the halfway point to the All-Star break, and you still have so much baseball left.
I know.
It's just it drags at this point. I wasn't saying, look, 162 games when the games are moving and when the games are exciting is one thing, but when you're combining that many games, you better be bringing a product that's going to fill the seats. But instead, you've got places like Progressive Field replacing seats. They're trying to add more entertainment into the stadium because they know damn well that the game it's the only way that baseball is going to survive.
I just think this is a bigger thing that's going to be talked about. Again, pace of play is one. I think they got it. And again, helping the hitter. I don't want to hear more about how to get the hitter out. They figured that out. That's been stamped.
Yeah.
You got to go the opposite way. You got to do more to help the hitter in this case. Dodgers or Red Sox starting on Friday through Sunday. I will be watching. I don't know how many others will, but I will be definitely attending and watching that. So you got the Browns, the Steelers at 1:00 on Sunday. It looks like it's going to be a little bit of rain. Hopefully they follow Mr. Watson's lead and take that victory. And then, again, Buckeyes, Urban Meyer, more to come on that in future weeks, especially if they lose again. And then, Notre Dame plays Navy. And then, again, the Cavs, shocking 0-5 start's one thing. This is it's 0-5. It's one thing. This is a shocking 0-5, eye-opening 0-5. Not one game under 5 points so far. Not good.
Not one game fun to watch.
Again.
First quarter of the second game of the season, I think was it for me.
I'll be interested to see what happens. I guess my final thought is this has been building all year with a lot of games. Again, I thought the Jets game was this game for Hugh. The Ravens game, I felt this way is for Hugh. And this is the third time now I think Hugh has a do-or-die game where I'm not saying he gets automatically fired the next day, but I think even if he doesn't get fired and he loses, I think that firing is coming. I do think if he loses, though, I think he's gone. And
I think that if they can pull out this win, there is the possibility that moves are made and they actually go after this conference or this division.
A very fair point, and I think they should be in the running for that anyways, no matter what. But
there's guys on that team that smell it. They want it. They're fighting for it.
Again, 4 overtime games says it all. It's a lot of overtime games. I guess the last note for people who need this, I think we all do. Again, this team is far better than when it was last year.
Absolutely.
And this is what happens when you only win one game in 2 years. You can't self-correct all this. So, in fairness, this is part of the process. You should be expecting this. It's never a quick fix. There's only so many quick turnarounds, and the Browns should never have been expected of that because they had so much leaking oil that to expect that would have been crazy. So maybe that is where we should temper our expectations. And, hey, they have won 2 games. They've been okay in the division so far.
Yeah.
So there are some positives here. Love the quarterback so far. I think he's going to be a player. Denzel Ward is a great up-and-coming rising leader on this team. It's now fixing those other things, getting another playmaker, offensive line, getting rid of your head coach. Those are the other things there. I guess that's the one, and the stings is why you brought him back, and that's probably the biggest thing. Oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up about the Cavs. I forgot this, so I wanted to get too derailed, so we got to go here in a minute. But I'll tell you, the Kyrie Irving trade is still being felt this year with the Cavs. That was my other point I forgot to mention. And I wanted to mention and end on that.
That really didn't leave us in a position to figure out, what we were going to do post LeBron.
That trade is being felt still today.
Yeah.
That was my other point.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're exactly right.
None of those players are here. None. Except for one Sexton. That's it.
Well, just to jump back to the Browns real quick before I wrap this out, they have played good enough. They have played almost as good as their competition in every game but one game this season. Almost as good for most of those games, and that ain't good enough. So I'll leave it on that. Let's hope that they can do something this Sunday in Pittsburgh to shut that crowd up in Heinz Field. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson, Cleveland and beyond. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, guys. Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond on Twitter. You can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments.